If Jonas Vingegaard wins the Tour, I won't understand anything that's going on. Clairvoyant words about our beloved Danish anchovy, issued just days before the start of the Tour de France 2024 by a man who shares a penchant for skipping doping controls with this year's Grand Boucle race number 1, the legendary badger Bernard Hinault. The last Frenchman to win the Tour told Het Nieuwsblad that the herring-smelling cyclist had had a really difficult preparation and compared his situation to that of his top rival last year in 2023, when Tadej Pogacar, the Slovenian alien, suffered a serious wrist injury in Liège at the end of April. But he didn't make mention of his passage through the current COVID epidemic that has, coincidentally, hit the peloton just days before the start of the Tour. For Hinault, there's no doubt. If Jonas wins this edition after his fall in the Basque Country and without Pogacar or the other favourites suffering some heavy-duty misfortunes, it can only be explained by a chemical preparation from outer space. And that's something about which the Badger knows a lot, for he shared a team with the biggest doper in history. A Dane. It's always a Dane. We're talking, of course, about Kim Andersen, who, in the 2 years he spent with Hinault at La Vie Claire, tested positive for doping on 5 occasions. But Bernie has not been the only one who has been sceptical or suspicious of Jonas Vingegaard's chances for the Tour de France. If you want to know all the points of view, including ours, stay until the end of the video. But first, don't forget to subscribe to our celebrity channel, Celebs Highlights, if you want to participate in the draw for a Van Rijssel, so you can show off to all your friends and turn heads in all the fashionable places. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, watch the videos until the end, comment on as many things related to the video content as possible, and then, at the end of the Tour de France, we'll announce the winner. It's free. Participate now. And yes, we know, back to the cycling. You can't wait to find out what our favourite white Kenyan thinks about Jonas Vingegaard's chances of winning this year's Tour de France. Chris Froome will not be taking part in this edition of the Tour, where, laugh amongst yourselves, he could be in the running for winning his 5th yellow jersey. It's a real misfortune for all of us who wanted to have fun watching his adventures on the road. But the Kenyan who won a Vuelta whilst tooting on products for asthmatics is going to delight us on social networks anyway. It could be even more delirious. In Escape Collective, expanding his YouTuber mantle, he wanted to bring us his 10 favourite riders to win the Tour, and he included amongst them Derek G. Now, if he is able to beat the biggest monsters of the peloton, it will have been a transformation more incredible and simply monstrous than the appearance of Bill Hazier in the White Kenyan, who went from climbing coals clinging to team cars to smashing TUE pelotons. The guy who earlier this year pedalled with the motor-doped Jovan Batista Iera talked about his friend Jonas Vingegaard, but he doesn't place him as the main favourite to take and keep the yellow jersey. In addition to the excuse of that heavy fall in the Basque Country, where he insists he does not know how the anchovy can even breathe through his lungs or gills after suffering a pneumothorax, for the Kenyan, the anchovy is not the main candidate to win in Nice. And that's because of the powerful team that the mystical Poggy is bringing to this year's Tour. A team that has suffered from COVID quite recently too, the poor guys. The Froomster considers that this year's Rabobank is at the same level or perhaps even slightly inferior to Sonia Duval when the departure of Sepp Kuss is taken into account. Another contaminated victim of that damnable COVID that's ruining the season of the main stars of the peloton. Now, another rider who wanted to give his opinion is the legendary doper Jan Ullrich, promoting his museum and his book and various products that will help him to recover all the money he spent on concubines and drugs and alcohol in the last 25 years, a not inconsiderable sum. The German is of the opinion that Vingegaard cannot aspire to victory after being off the roads for so long, something he knew how to do very well with all his secret preparations while slimming down in the Black Forest. It's also true that the former client of Eufemiano Fuentes is a friend of Pogacar, who equally accepts him despite him having been a dirty doper. And so Jan does not hesitate to place the alien as the main favourite for, in his own words, being the Eddie Merckx of our time. But it's not only the Badger or the Kenyan or even that chubby redhead who lost every year against Lance who wanted to give their opinion. The Rabobank team itself had something to say. It's clear that the Dutch team doesn't want to hear about the possibility of Vingegaard winning the Tour de France 2024. Rather, they are employing the deep river anchovy tactic. They don't want their star to surface too soon and get burned by the Slovenian sun, as his teenage doper compatriot Skelmose Jensen declared at Liège. It seems sensible not to expose themselves as the main favourites to win the Tour, but the team concerned with placing vans by the roadside to warn the directors of moves in purest motorman style has made a series of statements that make them look, well, at the very least, like losers or defeatists in purest Enric Mas style. Firstly, they declared that one of Jonas's best gregarios, the Belgian bot, is not only below the level he showed in 2023, but he is far from his condition of 2022. Tish Benoit, who spent 3 weeks alongside the Anchovy in Tignes preparing for the Tour, believes that his teammates' performance will be totally uncertain, and that he's sure no one within the team will dare to bet money on Jonas ending up on the podium. These are rather harsh statements, and they were made just the day after the Carabinieri arrested the Education First dealer, Andrea Piccolo, friend of Michael Valgren, who in turn was a childhood friend of Vingegaard, as we told you days ago in a video that you must see if you want to understand how the sport works today. But these words, these sentiments, well, they're also true, because the Rabobank team staff have been showing their insecurities about the Anchovy. Mathieu Heiboer, the trotter who was a cyclist, sharing a team berth with Mr. Cortisol under Lars Bohm or the doped Christian Moreni, well, he's now part of the Rabobank staff, and he says that although Vingegaard will be competitive, he believes he is far, far, far from being able to ensure that he can win. He hasn't been able to train enough, and they haven't been able to optimise his preparation. However, from Chateau Cycling Highlights, we think differently. We're more inclined to believe the words of Laurens de Plus, the Belgian climber of the Sky Team, who declared that he has very, very good sources who insist that Vingegaard is more than ready for the Tour de France. And in addition, the high temperatures expected for the Tour will favour him over a Pogacar, who always suffers in conditions of extreme heat. And the alien himself, let's be honest, he's the person who, outside of the Rabobank team, must best know the state of our beloved Anchovy. He says that, at the moment of truth, Vingegaard will be at the level we're accustomed to seeing him when astride his Cervelo bike. We don't know if he'll win, if he'll lose spectacularly, if he'll crash on the first day, or if he'll make some startling comeback and regain 2 minutes in the final time trial. But that's the beauty of cycling, isn't it? It's so unpredictable. Although it may not seem so, Vingegaard Rasmussen is in Florence to win the Tour de France, not to ride round looking at the views. Now, take a look at the video on the screen. You'll like it. We're sure that it will be right up your strata.